The crisis of confidence speech.
Goodbye. I had nothing to do with it. We were tired. It was very inspiring, but it was not upbeat. We had an energy crisis, and we had hostages, and things were not looking good. They were running out of gasoline for your cars. Pat Caddell, who was our pollster, showed that they were unhappy. It was a very bad time.
We can see this crisis in the growing doubt about the meaning of our own lives.
Two people on NBC turned to each other, and somebody said, he spoke about a malaise in the American people. And all of a sudden, the next thing we knew, people were calling it the malaise speech.
Gerald Rafshoon, now 89 and living in Washington, D.C., was a White House communications director for Jimmy Carter. But the two first met in 1966. Carter was running his first campaign for Georgia governor, and Rafshoon was an advertising executive.
Somebody at the paper had said, why don't you help Jimmy Carter? And I said, I'm not going to get involved in politics. It's not good for the business. And I heard this jingle on the air, and it was a country and western singer singing, Jimmy Carter is his name, Jimmy Carter is his name, Jimmy Carter is his name, #1 for governor. I almost ran off the road. And I called my friend Hal Gulliver at the paper, and I said, your friend Jimmy Carter, that jingle is just awful. Just tell him to take it off. He needs help. So I took the meeting. I said he's went to Naval Academy, he's been a state senator, and he wants to have more jobs. I talked about the things he was going to do. I said, but they say he can't win. Silence in the room. And the political science professor said, this is a disaster. I said, oh yeah, what way? He said, you never say you can't win. I said, we're not saying we can't win. I'm saying they say you can't win. And then I found myself being kicked under the table by Jimmy Carter. He was kicking me to shut up, and I looked at him, and he was smiling at me. And he turned to them and he said, let me speak to this fellow by myself. Wait for me outside. And he looked at me and he said, don't argue with these people. They're good people. Now let's go do your campaign. And I fell in love.
Together we can make our country strong again. Vote for Jimmy Carter, a leader for a change.
Cinema verite all over, all the things he was doing on the campaign, going to all states.
And Jerry was wise enough to just utilize what we had. As a matter of fact, quite often I would come down off the airplane where we were campaigning toward the end of the campaign, and Jerry would be there with just one camera.
And it was a announcer was doing the voiceover.
Through the months, more and more people recognized him as a new leader, a man who will change the way this country is run.
We came up with the idea of having 5-minute commercials, which had to sue the networks or the stations, or say I would sue when they wouldn't let us have 5 minutes. I said, if anybody spends 5 minutes with Jimmy Carter, they're going to vote for him. So let's have 5-minute commercials. So the two best decisions were to go to 5 minutes, and also, despite the fact we didn't have a lot of money, to be first on the air in most states. Can it be that a new aura of respect is being generated because of your wonderful victory on November 2nd? I'll always be grateful that I was able to contribute in a small way to the triumph of Rafshoon Agency. Respectfully, Jimmy Carter. That's Jerry Rafshoon, Jimmy Carter, Pat Caddell, our posters, Mondale and Mrs. Mondale. And he's thanking me. We win the election, and we have the inauguration.
This inauguration ceremony marks a new beginning, a new dedication within our government, and a new spirit among us all.
And after the parade, we go into the White House. And in my first time in the Oval Office, and I go in there and I said, gosh, this is real neat, Jimmy. And I said, I mean, Mr. President. And he said, no, I want you to keep calling me Jimmy. And I said, I can't do it. He said, why? I said, I worked real hard for the privilege of calling you Mr. President. And that's what it'll be. And I still do it.